Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you all? I hope you all are very well. Welcome to the today's online class. Today I am with you, myself Nurusani, assistant teacher. Today I am going to discuss creative question from the chapter 3 of your science book. So students, let's start our today's discussion. Here you can see in the board I wrote a creative question. This is your stem and this is the question. So look at the stem first. Here is a figure. And do you recognize which figure is this? Think about it, okay? I will tell you later. First, let's see the questions. This is the first question. That is, what is RH factor? Do you know what is RH factor? I think you know. But let me explain that. RH factor is a kind of antigen which is found in the RBC of blood. In the monkey's blood, it is found and whose name is rhesus. And according to its name, it is called RH factor or rhesus factor. It is also found in the human blood. But when RH factor is present in the blood, it is called RH positive. And if RH factor is absent, then it is called RH negative. Now the second question. What is mean by thalassemia? I know you all know that B number question is the mark of B number question is 2. So for B number question you have to make 2 paras. What is mean by thalassemia? So in the first paras you can write that thalassemia is a blood related disease. Blood related disease. Due to thalassemia, it affects the production of hemoglobin. It affects the production of hemoglobin which cause anemia. Okay. And in the second para, you can write that it is a hereditary disease. This point is very important. Okay. It is also important for MCQ that thalassemia is a hereditary disease. It transfers from the parents to the children. If the parents contain the mutant gene of thalassemia, then it can transfer to the children. But we can easily identify it at the childhood stage. And we can treat it by changing the blood in every 3 months. Remember that in every 3 months, we have to change the blood. Now, let's describe the structure of figure A. So, this question is related to the stem. So, what is the figure? First, we have to identify at the beginning of writing the C number question. First, in the introduction para, you have to write what is the figure. So you have to write that the figure A is heart. Now discuss the figure. For discussion of heart, it is very easy or it is very essential that you must have to draw the figure and label all the parts. If you did do that, then it will be very easy for you to describe the structure. Okay, so first introduction para, you write that it is a figure of heart. Then draw the figure. Now describe it. Okay. So students, for C number question, you can draw the figure like this way and mark or label all the parts. Now you can describe. First you can describe that heart is a pumping machine. Heart is a pumping machine which circulates blood through expansion and contraction. And heart is situated in the middle of lung and above the diaphragm. See, the upper part of the heart is broader and the lower part is narrower. Now, you know that heart has 4 parts. Here 1, 2, 3 and 4 parts. The upper part is called right atrium and the lower part is called right ventricle. And the heart is surrounded by pericardium layer. And between this pericardium layer, pericardium fluid is present, which helps the heart to contract. Now, this is the right atrium and this is the left atrium. This is the right ventricle and this is the left ventricle. The atrium are separated by interarticular septum and the ventricle are separated by interventricular septum. Now here some other parts you see which attach to the heart. Here two vena cave. The lower part is called inferior vena cave and the upper is superior vena cave, which is originated from the right arterium. And in the left arterium there are pulmonary vein, 4 pulmonary vein. Here is 2 and here is 2, 4 pulmonary vein. Then the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, the aorta originated from the left ventricle, and from the right ventricle, pulmonary artery is originated. So this is the whole process. So let's see. You can see that if you draw the figure and level, you can describe it easily. It is not a big deal. Okay, so you practice to draw the figure. If you practice this just for 1 or 2 times, you can easily draw the figure, and that is and then it is very much easier for you to describe it. Okay, and not only draw the figure, but also you have to level the figure. If you do not know how to level the figure or which part is called the name of parts, then you can't describe. So draw the figure and level the parts. Then you can easily describe it for C number question. After the discussion of the structure of figure A, now move on the D number question. Let's see the question. Explain that figure A complete its function through a cycle. What function done by figure A? Figure A is a pump machine and it circulates blood. So its function is blood circulation. So heart circulate the blood through a cycle. You have to write that cycle. Okay, you have to write the cycle by which process the heart circulate the blood. So let's see the cycle. Now the D number question, that the heart continue its function through a cycle. Here I draw the cycle. This is the cycle by which heart circulate the blood. Here is 4 cycle, that is diastole of arterium, systole of arterium, then systole of ventricle, then diastole of ventricle. You know the upper part of the heart is called arterium and the lower part is called ventricle. Here you must have to know 2 terms, that diastole and systole. Diastole means expansion. When the part full with the blood when come, then it is expanded. This is called diastole. And when blood release or go through another part, then the part contract. That is called contraction. So first cycle, that is diastole of arterium. Here you can see the figure. Here expansion of arterium. That means arterium expanded. This is the right arterium and this is left arterium. In the right arterium, carbon dioxide blood or deoxygenated blood come. So I mark it with blue color, and here the oxygenated blood come in the left arterium. So red color. Okay. When the blood enter, then it is expanded. Expand. So that is called diastole of arterium. Now the systole of arterium. I said systole means contraction. That means blood release. Here you can see from the arterium the blood enter into the ventricle. Here also from the right arterium, right ventricle, and from the left arterium into the left ventricle. When the blood enter from the arterium to the ventricle, arterium contract. Due to a contraction of arterium, the blood release into the ventricle. When the blood release into the ventricle, at the same time ventricle expanded. It happened at the same time. So when the contraction of arterium happened, at the same time expansion of ventricle already happened. Okay. Now the third step. Third step is systole of ventricle, because when the systole of arterium happened, at the same time already expansion of ventricle happened. Now the systole of ventricle. Systole means contraction. Here, when the systole happen, here two valve remain here. Again expansion of systole of arterium. In the right side there is tricuspid valve, and in the left side there is bicuspid valve. These two valves remain open and blood enter from the arterium to the ventricle. And in the systole of ventricle, these two valves, that means tricuspid and bicuspid valve, remain closed, and semilunar valve remain open, and the blood from the right ventricle go through the pulmonary artery, and from the left ventricle it go through the aorta to our body. Okay, so in this time the closing of valve, a sound happen. During the closing time a sound happen, that is called lag. When we measuring pressure, we heard a sound. One is upper sound and another is lower sound. The upper sound is called lag, and this is the sound of closing the valve. Okay, when systole of ventricle is finished, then again the diastole of ventricle occur. As the blood go, then again it fill up. Here you can see the blood go through and again the blood fill up, and this time the semilunar valve remain closed. Okay, and again this time another sound is happen, and that is called dab. So this is the two sound which we heard during measuring pressure. So this is the overall figure. If you draw the figure, this question is also very much easier for you to write. Here also you have the most important thing you have to remember, that expansion and contraction. And diastole means expansion, systole means contraction. When diastole of arterium happen, that means arterium full with blood. When systole of arterium happen, that means blood go from the arterium to the ventricle through tricuspid and bicuspid valve. Then the systole of ventricle. Systole of ventricle means systole ventricle contract. Systole means contract. So systole of ventricle means ventricle contract. When ventricle contract, then tricuspid and bicuspid valve remain closed and semilunar valve remain open. And this time of closing of valve, a sound is happen, that is called lag. And similarly, when the diastole of arterium happen, diastole means fill up, then the semilunar valve remain closed, and this time also a sound occur. This is called dab. I think you can understand the question. If you observe the figure carefully, it is very easy for you to understand the question. And if you draw the figure in your exam, it is also easier for you to describe. If you practice the figure, it takes only 5 to 6 minutes, or no, not, it is more, 3 to 4 minutes you can draw the figures. And if you draw the figure, you can write within 1 or 2 minutes the description. So try to draw the figure. I hope you understand this creative question, the D number question. Okay, next we are going to discuss our second CQ question. So let's read the stem. Here, Mr. Rohim noticed that nowadays he gets tired after little labor. It takes time to cure the injury of the body and his skin become dry. So he visited a doctor. Doctor advised him some rules and regulations to keep the body healthy. Now look at the questions. What is cholesterol? Do you know what is cholesterol? This term is very much familiar. So cholesterol is a kind of lipid or steroid. In all the tissue of the body, cholesterol is present, but it is high in brain and liver. The compound of lipid and protein is called lipoprotein. There are two types of lipoprotein. One is low density lipoprotein and another is high density lipoprotein. But among these two lipoprotein, the low density lipoprotein is very much harmful for the body. If the amount of low density lipoprotein is high, then the amount of cholesterol is high in the body. Now the second question. Write the difference between vein and artery. We saw the vein and artery in heart, in the figure of heart. So there are some basic difference between vein and artery. So let's see the differences between vein and artery. Here is the difference between vein and artery. Let's see the differences. You see that the differences are exactly opposite from each other. So sometimes you get confused what thing you write for which. So to avoid confusion, you can learn one thing, either vein or either artery. Then you can write the opposite for other. Let's see, for vein, that wall is thin. The wall of vein is thin and the wall of artery is thick. See the opposite. Vein, lumen is larger and artery, lumen is narrow. Same as vein, blood flows slowly and artery, blood flows faster. In vein, there are valves are present, but in artery, there are no valves. So opposite. In vein, vein originated from capillaries and in the heart. And opposite, artery originated from heart and into the capillaries. And it's carry deoxygenated blood. Vein carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. And artery carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. So maximum time the students get confused which thing we write for vein or artery, because the both are just opposite. So I think if you learn just one, either vein or either artery, it will be easier for you to write. Now the C number question, that Mr. Rohim is affected by which disease? Discuss it. How you identify that by which disease Mr. Rohim is affected? So, to identify that, you have to read the stem very carefully. Here, in the stem, there are some symptoms. You have to find out that the Mr. Rohim get tired with little labor. It takes time to cure his injury and his body become dry. These three symptoms are related to a disease. To identify the diseases, you have to remember the symptoms of different diseases. These symptoms are related to which disease? Can you remember? Yes, these symptoms are related to diabetes disease. So, at the beginning of this question, C number question, you have to write that the symptoms are related to diabetes disease. So, Mr. Rohim is suffered by diabetes disease. Now, what is diabetes disease? You can describe it in the descriptive part of second para. Diabetes is a metabolic disease. Whenever we eat anything, it converts into glucose and go into our blood. And the one kind of hormone which name is insulin. What? Insulin, which is secreted from pancreas. It converts the glucose into energy. But the person who are affected by diabetes, their insulin secretion is become low. So, they cannot convert the glucose into energy. That is why their glucose level become increased, and that is called diabetes. Okay. One very important thing, that diabetes is a hereditary disease. That means it transfers from the parents to the children. So, you must have to remember this point. So, this is diabetes disease. So, what is this? That the amount of insulin secretion in the body become low down. So, it cannot convert the glucose into energy. Now, finally, you can write that this is the diabetes disease. In the conclusion line, you have to write. Now, the D number question. What advice did the doctor give to Mr. Rohim to keep the body healthy? This is for number 4 marks question. To control or to maintain diabetes disease, there are some rules and regulations. If you maintain these rules and regulations, then you can maintain you can control your diabetes level. So, these are given below. You can write in this way at the introduction part. And now you can describe the points. What rules and regulation? There are 3 rules and regulation. That is food control. Food control. Then number 2 is taking medicine. taking medicine. Then number 3 is disciplined life. Disciplined life. So to control diabetes disease, you have to maintain these 3 points. You can describe it. Food control. What is food control? That one person who are affected by diabetes eat maintain or the amount of food advised by doctor. He or she can't eat more food, or he should take more proteinous food but less sweet food and carbohydrate. Sweet food, he can't take sweet food, sweet type of anything, any food that is sweet, he can't take that, and less carbohydrate. Now taking medicine. Some person who can control their diabetes level by controlling food and disciplined life by maintaining these 2 points. But some people, they can't control their diabetes level, they have to take medicine, or sometimes they have to take insulin. And now the disciplined life. This is the most important. 3 things are most important, but this is very vital. What is disciplined life? You have to eat balanced diet every day. And you have to take regular basis of exercise, control the amount of food, and also check the urine level and record it. Okay, so these are the rules and regulation which doctor advised for Mr. Rohim to keep his body healthy. You have to describe that point. So student, this is the 2 creative questions which I discussed today. I hope you understand that today's question, and you can also understand how you can write the answer of questions, and also how you identify the answer of the question from the stem. So if you have any kind of doubt, please make it clear, ask to your subject teacher, because your exam is very close. And please student, don't go outside without masks, and don't touch your eye and nose without washing your hand. And whenever you go outside, please maintain the distances, and eat vitamin C food to boost up your immunity system. So take care students. Allah Hafiz.